And what is up, everybody? Today is March 7th, 2015, and today was the, I don't know, however many annual Big Apple Con. Now, originally my boy Kelvin was supposed to fight today, but it got moved to the 28th. Now, the reason why this is so important is because I went to Big Apple Con. Um, I wanted to see Larry. I wanted to meet Larry Hamill again. I wanted to meet Jason David Frank again, but not for me, but because my boy Kelvin, just like when just like when I met Ken Shamrock, I had Ken Shamrock record an encouraging message, wishing him luck for his first fight with Jason David Frank. Now that Kelvin has got some free gear from Jesus Didn't Tap, Jason David Frank's clothing line, uh, it was very important that I get Jason David Frank to say something, for him. So Jason David Frank posts that he's going to be there from 1 o'clock to a certain time. Okay. Now, when I met him at New York Comic Con, I got there later. I got to the line later than I should have. Basically, when when they first started letting us in, I should have beelined straight for the, straight to his booth or the table where he was going to be at. What happened was I had people that I had to meet. I had figures, my artwork to give to them, and so I went up to them, but I didn't know where the table was. So I went looking around, asking around. Then when I finally found out where it was, there was a pretty big line. Then I stalled talking to a few professional wrestlers that you might know of, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Tito Santana, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Andrew Anderson. And lo and behold, the line got bigger. And I must have waited about 3 hours before I was able to finally meet him. And I gave him the figures of that I made of him. This is during if you look back to my Action Fuzzy Comic Con at New York Comic Con. Basically, it was cool seeing him and giving him the figures. He loved them so much, and I didn't care for an autograph, but he wouldn't let me leave without one. And I was very grateful for that day. And he's one of my personal heroes. He's done a lot of things in martial arts and in Hollywood that I still to this day aspire to. And to be able to meet him again and to be able to get him to say something for my boy Kelvin, who is who is an up and coming fighter, it would just be awesome, and I know it would mean the world to Kelvin. So I get there, and immediately I go straight for, the doors opened at 10. So when I get there, I immediately go to, where's Jason David Frank's table? Where's Jason David Frank's table? Oh, okay, you gotta go upstairs and you go this way. So I go the direction that the guy in the bright green shirt told me, and it was wrong. And I asked again somebody else, where's Jason David Frank's table? He takes me all the way to the other side, and now it's about 10:30, and shows me where the actual line is. Turns out that there's 2 lines, because Steve Cardenas, the second Red Ranger, and the Blue Zeo Ranger. Nothing against him. I liked him as the Blue Zeo Ranger, but he's not who I came to see. He's not the one with the company sponsoring Kelvin. I wanted to see Jason David Frank. So big mix up within the lines. And in the back of it, you couldn't tell who was where. Some angry dude in a bright green shirt tells me and a bunch of others, okay, come over here. And where he was pointing to, we knew was the Red Ranger line. We said, no, we're here to see the Green Ranger. He said, come over here. And we told him a couple times, we're here to see the the Green Ranger, and yet he put us in the Red Ranger line. And we told him, it's like, well, we're here for the Green Ranger. He's like, just stand right here. I was like, okay, maybe he knows something we don't. He comes back like 5 minutes later. He says, "Okay, now y'all are here to see the Red Ranger, right?" I was like, "No, we're here to see the Green Ranger." He's like, "Well, the line was that over there." I was like, "But you told us to come over here, and we told you we were waiting to see the Green Ranger." "Nah, I didn't hear that." He's like, "Yes, you did. You told me. You didn't tell me nothing." Get in the back of the Green Ranger line. As soon as I'm in the back of the line, same dude. All right, now y'all gotta come back at 12 o'clock. Telling us we gotta leave. The area that they decided to pack, the one man who has had the biggest autograph signing lines for New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con and every Wizard World for God knows how many years, they give him no more than maybe 100 feet of space to try to hold all the people that came there just to see him. And every time kept coming back, they kept shooing us away. We weren't allowed to be there. Like, you got to be kidding me. And one guy tried to even be a smart Alex, like, "Yeah, you're gonna wait an hour, just so you could stick around, wait around an hour, just so you could stick around and wait for another hour." Yes, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Because if we go away, the line's gonna get bigger. Then we have to wait even longer. So of course we're gonna sit around and wait. They kept kicking us out. They kept shooing us away. "You can't stand here. You're blocking the view." Of course you're blocking the view because you only gave 100 feet of space to do an autograph signing. So whose fault is that? Constantly sending people away. Then I'm fed up. I see Jason David Frank coming up the escalator. He's got Steve Cardenas. He's got his daughter with him, and this woman who works with him. And they they come through. I want to say I made the mistake of just letting them pass by instead of stopping them, because a couple of people he stopped because they had shirts for the new Green Ranger for Green Ranger versus Ryu, which is 2 months late. Then some of the guys came in the costumes that he wore in both superpower beatdowns for Green Ranger versus Ryu, as well as for White Ranger versus Scorpion. So of course he stopped, and got to speak with them. All right, fine. Then he gets to the line. Now the post that he put up said he was going to be there at 1 o'clock. It was 1 o'clock. He was there. They still wouldn't let anybody in that area, and they said, "Oh, these people have been waiting here since 9." What? The doors opened at 10. "Oh, but this was for people who get here extra early." I didn't even see that as an option. Second, I'd been there. I've been waiting there since 10:30. When they're still not letting people in. Lines started forming finally around. They weren't shooing us away anymore along the sides of the walls. It was ridiculous. Jason David Frank was the absolute highlight of the day, and they didn't even try giving him enough space to do what he needed to do. Now, from being shooed away so many times, one cool thing did manage to happen. Larry Hama was there, and you saw me giving the pipe cleaner snake eyes to him. I wanted to give him a pipe cleaner storm shadow. I just haven't. I just really haven't been inspired lately. But what happens is, walking around seeing all the comic book vendors, I find this issue of G.I. Joe, the first ever silent issue. Okay, this is a very rare comic. It is kind of beat up, but I paid about $15 for it because, obviously it's still very rare. And then I had Larry Hama sign it. Then I take it to they had an appraiser there. He tells me, "Oh, I don't buy." He's like, "Today I'm not buying signed comics." I was like, "Oh," He's like, well, what if I take it to, he's like, oh yeah, I could take it to the CGC, the people that put the card on it with the blue label. He's like, but they'll put a green label on it because they didn't see him because they did not see him sign it. And he's like, the most you could probably get for that is $30 to $40. So I've already made up to 100 to 175% profit. I'm cool with that. Also, I ran into an old friend of mine. It was a comic book street vendor. He used to be on the corner of 33rd and no, on 43rd and Broadway. Right next to. He was on the same corner as, at the time, WWE New York, now the Hard Rock Cafe in Times Square, where now he had a whole bunch of toys set up, and I found me the G.I. Joe Hall of Fame Gung Ho you can see he's in his dress blues, has the Marine Corps, the NCO sword, and he's intact. Box is pretty beat up, so I got him for pretty inexpensive, but it's cool to have this. Myself being a Marine, and I was always a big fan of G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero. So meeting Larry Hama again, having him sign this, and then of course, looking out for my brother Gung Ho here, that was cool. But when I first got there, I found guys that would basically take these and make little pixelated, like Mega Man. They'll do for like Street Fighter, different Marvel characters, but they had it for this. They had it for the Green Ranger. They had it for the Red Ranger and a couple of other Rangers. It takes forever to finally get. Now, I felt bad because I didn't have anything for Larry Hama this time. I didn't have anything for Jason David Frank. I was only there to get him to say something encouraging for Kelvin. That was it. What happens? I find this, and I say to myself, okay, I have it autographed. At New York Comic Con, only costs $20, $25 for an autograph. So I had the money. Okay, fine. Something. This is cute, and hell, I might even give it back to the people who made this. Because I wasn't there for me. I was there for Kelvin. I just happened to pick up a few cool things. So finally, the line starts moving. It is about 3 o'clock now. Almost 3 o'clock now, I finally get to meet Jason David Frank. I go up there and I say, how much is it for an autograph? They say $40. So, needless to say, I didn't get that autographed. It was ridiculous. And then on top of that, now I gave him the pipe cleaner figures. I gave him my business card again, and I told him I was the guy in 2013 that gave you the pipe cleaner figures. He didn't remember me. I got a email from Jesus Didn't Tap when they sent the gear for Kelvin, telling me that he remembered the figures and he liked them a lot. So obviously that was a lie. Then on top of that, I was like, look, if you could just do this for me. I understood he was pressed for time, so he did it real quick. I couldn't get an autograph. I couldn't even get another picture with him. And the picture I showed last time was like, of all the famous people I've ever met, I've never smiled so big, ridiculously stupid as I did for that man. It is, and as frustrating as it was, I can't blame him. I can't. I understand he's a very busy man. The guys in the bright green shirts were blaming him. Well, if he'd have come on time, he didn't show up, and if he didn't show up late, it was like, no, he got here at 1 o'clock, just like he said he was going to. Then them rushing him, and then the poor quality of how they organized everything. I've made up my mind, and I told everybody that I knew there, because quite a few people I knew who also do reviews kind of like this, whether it be for magazines, for YouTube, for on podcasts, anything like that. They're pretty much going to say they're never going to Big Apple Con again. It was such a frustrating experience. I mean, how are you going to have celebrities, of that caliber? Because they also had Roddy Piper, they had Jake the Snake Roberts, you know, and that's how you treat the people that paid money to come see these people. Of course, there's going to be a big line. Of course, there's going to be a crowd. Of course, a passageway is going to be blocked because you didn't set up properly. That's not our fault. We just came to see. We just came to see these people, and as a fan, it's frustrating. And I can't, like I said, I can't blame Jason David Frank for this. Um, Obviously, he was a lot of pressure. I don't know what these people were saying to him or anything like that, and it must have been very frustrating. And I know that they kept running. It's like, oh, he's pressed for time, pressed for time, pressed for time. And then I find out that last year at New York Comic Con, they did the same thing to him. Now, I went the year before. The year before, he canceled his flight home. Okay? It was Sunday. It was already late. He canceled his flight home because he was going to make sure he stopped and met every single person that came there to see him. All of a sudden, they're capping the lines. Keep in mind, New York Comic Con sold out in 94 minutes. In other words, there was a lot of people who didn't get to go. Who were they capping the lines off from? It's ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, the person you've paid us a ridiculous amount of money to see, you're not allowed to see because he's already got to. You didn't get here in time. It's not cool when when stuff like that happens. And I understand, people got to wait, a long time and stuff like that, and it is frustrating. But at the same time, these are people, these are stories that people get to tell, how they got to meet somebody that they've admired for so long, man. And like the first time I met JDF, it was awesome. I was on a high when I met Chuck Liddell, getting to meet like so many other different MMA fighters. It's just such a wonderful experience. And this convention sucked all the life out of it. Yeah. And I know for the fact I'm not the only person that felt that way. It was good to finally meet him again, but of course, if this is how it's going to be next year, I'm not even going to bother trying to figure out if they're going to fix it or not. And anybody else, chances are, like I don't even know if Jason David Frank will ever come back to that convention. I looked at his schedule. I don't even think he's coming back to New York. This is the only time he was gonna be in New York. My boy Kelvin's fight was supposed to be tonight, and I was gonna see if I could drag him to watch the fights because it's MMA. It's some more it's some more fan service, and he loves doing fan service. But I could tell by the look in his eyes, man, he was just done. There was just I don't get it. He was he was trying to get the crowd pumped and everything, but I guess they were really pushing his buttons, man, and I really don't blame him. JDF, man, I'm sorry, but personally, I wasn't really finished with you, but I understand you were pressed for time. It's not your fault, man. It's not. But there were, those other things that would have liked to have done with you. I didn't get the opportunity. I hate to think that at 6 o'clock you possibly were forced to leave, and there was a bunch of people that didn't get to meet you yet, or out of the frustration of them constantly shooing people away from the line to come see you. I don't know how many people actually left and went home. Some guy even told him, you're better off just going home. That's what the guys in the bright green shirts told your fans. It's not cool, man. It's not. I strongly I would strongly suggest don't ever come back to Big Apple Con. Come to Comic Con. Come to Wizard World. But Big Apple Con, like anybody else, people got no idea what they're doing. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.